7th, the police did their job because they were so shamed after April 15th that they did, and there was no violence. But every single time, 4 out of the 5 times, I believe it is, the police stood down. Sunday, the most recent, and guess what? Patriots wind up in the hospital. Not Antifa. Patriots wind up in the hospital.
You may know Keith as the independent journalist being attacked here in this clip, and or from his appearance on Tucker Carlson. In part 1, Keith told us how and why he got into doing Patriot Warrior Media, into doing what he does, and he described the events of that fateful day. But we have yet to discuss his political views, the accusations leveled against him by It's Going Down, the biggest propaganda outlet for these terrorist groups, and other subjects. Before we begin, please consider donating to Keith's Patreon and or the campaign launched on his behalf to pay his huge hospital bills and to replace the camera that they stole from him. And know that the proceeds from this video, as long as YouTube doesn't demonetize this one too, like they do a lot of my videos, will go towards Keith's Patreon. Also, towards the end of this interview, Keith will talk about his 2 media appearances that he will have this week. There will be links to his channel and to other stuff in the video description below. And without further ado, let's get into it. The exquisite irony of a group of mostly white kids going to a different location and using defensive items with the words "no hate" on them in a park named after a man who preached nonviolent resistance, attacking a group of ethnically diverse people and calling them Nazis, and calling the very act of hitting somebody with a shield that says the word "no heat" a defensive item used as a weapon, tracking you down and hitting you and calling that self-defense. It's so ironic that they don't see how ironic that is.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you couldn't. I don't know how you could make that more ironic. I don't think it'd be possible.
Indeed.
Yeah.
All right, so let's see here. Let's see, like, what can I start with here? Okay, so one of the things, unfortunately, that my camera cut out on is your political leaning. So could you tell me again on the political spectrum, and you're familiar with the 4-quadrant political spectrum, right? Right. Okay, so for my audience, I'll show this right now. There's not just left and right, which is, left and right literally, but there's also up and down, which stands for, if you go up, typically that's authoritarian. And if you go down, that's libertarian, or some people say collectivist if you go up, and individualist if you go down, however you want to put that. But it's like, do you believe authority should control people if you go up, or do you go down and believe that the individual has their own liberty? You could be upper left, upper right, lower left, lower right. Go ahead and tell me what your political spectrum would be. You said that you took a test for that too, right?
Yeah, I took it. What seemed to be a fairly thorough test. There was 2 of them that I saw. One had kind of questions that would apply internationally, and one was focused for the U.S. So I took the U.S. focused one, and 55 or 56 questions later. So it said it gives you like 4 terms. I remember 3 of them: centrist, moderate, libertarian. I can't remember the 4th. I think it put me just right of the center and a little bit below the median line.
Right.
If I recall.
So yeah, that would be a little bit more on the libertarian or individualist side and away from the collectivist or authoritarian side.
Yeah, nowhere near.
Right. So you're saying it's amazing how many people assume that you wouldn't characterize yourself as we'll get into some of that too, yeah. All right, so and by the way, I'm a little bit to the left of the thing, not very far. I mean, really, mine's more of a scatter shot, but if you average it out, I'm on the left, although some of what I believe in is more on the right. But mostly I'm on the left, and then I'm certainly more on the individualistic or libertarian side. I would say I'm more down than I am left. So, I mean, I'm almost like, well, I don't, and by the way, I really don't care. I'd rather ally myself with somebody who is moderately right and libertarian than somebody who is moderately left and authoritarian. I'm just against authoritarian stuff. I know we have to have some of it, but whatever. Anyway, what matters to me, though, however, is that people such as yourself and a lot of other important people who are either covering this or actually active politically in this movement is that we all agree on civil liberties. I think it's safe to say that we believe in freedom and equality. You did go into that last time. And as long as people believe in freedom and equality and civil liberties, then, we could differ on other issues, and I'm going to stand with them, so...
Yeah.
And also, I do, people don't know, unfortunately, they don't get this, but it's important to stand for the civil liberties of people you disagree with. But people these
Right.
days, they think if you support somebody's civil liberties, that means you support everything they do and say, which is ridiculous. All right. So we got
Yeah.
that. It's just
Oh,
important because, go ahead.
one comment I wanted to make. It's like, the left is doing whatever they can to suppress, free speech, and that they just never seem to get that, if they're able to or get laws or whatever to where they can suppress our speech, at some point the power is going to swing the other way, and it will end up eventually being their speech that gets suppressed by the very laws that they tried to use against us. And
Right.
you'll never seem to get it. I don't understand.
I'm not
understand
sure. I think perhaps some of them may have a stated or even unstated belief that if they start with that, they can then seize more power and never allow the opposition to even gain a foothold. Maybe they think that by starting with the control of what you could say in here, maybe they can then have their communist revolution or whatever, and then they don't have to ever worry about it. I don't know.
That's got to be it. That's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah. Berkeley Side's article, September 2nd, Who Were the Trump Supporters Who Came to Berkeley on August 27th? By Emily Raguso, I believe. And by the way,
skimmed over that.
Yeah, I've been having an interesting internet argument in the comments section to this article. But it says, in what became among the most famous video incidents in Berkeley on Sunday, Trump supporter and video blogger Keith was briefly assaulted by members of the crowd until Reveal host Al Letson used his own body to cover Keith. First of all, I noticed they say, you were briefly assaulted? As if
And
somehow... What's that?
And by members of the crowd, I mean, come on. It's like people just hanging around just suddenly decided to assault me. It was masked Antifa. It's like...
You were tracked, were you not?
Oh, yeah. They had spotters there. They were tracking me, relaying info.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just put the time when I was surrounded and no police were around.
Goodness. Okay. So that right there is pretty funny because they're trying to, let's face it, they're using weasel words to try to make it, to minimize how vicious that attack actually was. I would say it was acute, not brief, you know? You later told Reveal, a project of longtime East Bay journalism organization, the Center for Investigative Reporting, quote, Antifa members know him from his conservative YouTube channel, Patriot Warrior Media, where he's known as KPikkelfield, and targeted him specifically, unquote. And you reportedly live in the Bay Area. Well, that's not nice of them to say, and I'm not even sure if that's accurate, but they do this to everybody. People are calling this soft doxing by Berkeley side now, because this is what they're doing now. Go ahead.
I would think that, obviously they're trying to skirt doing as much as they can without, I guess, being culpable.
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I've been arguing with them. I'll show my audience the amazing argument where I basically set them up and then knock them down. And I'm saying, well, you're kind of suggesting these people are Nazis. And they're like, no, we're not. Where? And then, well, basically it's like, okay, so you're saying that somebody else is saying that they're Nazis, but you know most of your audience is too stupid to make the connection, and why don't you actually ask these people? It's very easy to get a hold of them, rather than just printing this stuff about them and saying, well, we didn't say it's somebody. It's plausible deniability, but I would say it's implausible. But they're not very happy with me right now because they're very embarrassed, but they're trying to, their best to do damage control because, anyway, talking too much about myself. Moving on, it says in the article here that his camera was knocked from his hand and he was hit over the head. That's a little bit more than just that. The incident happened after Gibson and his sidekick, Tusitala, or Tiny, sought refuge behind the police line after they were reportedly attacked. So according to them, that's the timeline of when that happened to you.
Yeah, I think so, because I filmed part of the attack on those two guys, and then I guess after they went through the police line, then I went down Alston because there was a whole group going down there for some reason, and so I followed them. So it kind of sounds about right.
Yeah. Moving on, it says, according to the piece, The Intercept, and here's where they hope people just believe The Intercept and don't blame the Berkeley side for saying the following, but, quote, according to a piece by The Intercept on Thursday, quote, He makes no secret of his far-right politics, working with groups like the Proud Boys, a fraternal organization described by its founder Gavin McInnes as a group of, quote, Western chauvinists who refuse to apologize for creating the modern world, quote unquote, which apparently is supposed to prove that they are far-right, which is pretty silly. The Intercept also notes that that your work, quote, had attracted almost no attention until Sunday when he was beaten by anti-fascist activists in Berkeley, unquote. Do you want to address those two things? The one thing is first the far-right thing, and the second being that you attracted almost no attention. Go ahead.
Okay, so let's do the far-right thing. First of all, yeah, the Proud Boys, that's just crazy. I mean, those guys have been slandered repeatedly, and, you know, it's a huge organization. So, yeah, some people probably sneak in, and there's no way that you can control everything. But, I mean, I know a number of them, and none of them are even alt-right, much less far-right. And they disavow, you know, white nationalism. They disavow alt-right. They disavow everything farther right.
Yeah.
So
I've heard it.
That's crazy. And then, in fact, a lot of them are even in Texas helping with the rescue relief efforts.
Right.
Same with the first time I got doxxed by, I guess, BAM and Antifa. They said I was a member of the Oath Keepers, which is true, but they're like a far-right anti-government extremist group, which is crazy.
Yeah.
And they are also been in Texas since the start, helping with the relief efforts.
Yeah, you know, I've been contacted by them too, by the way. Tabitha and I, when we were being threatened by Antifa, we didn't even ask or reach out. They just contacted us and said, hey, you need help? We were floored by how helpful these people can be. It's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, before I ever even, you know, they first contacted me right before Ann Coulter was going to speak, and they knew, they had heard that I was trying to gather some people together to go defend the school, defend the students. They reached out to me on my video about the April 15th riot, and I spent a week kind of looking into them before I even reached back to them, because I was under the mistaken impression that, again, they were a far-right extremist group, too, because that's what a lot of people think.
Yeah.
And after I took them out, then I agreed to work with them, and then eventually became a member. But yeah, if anybody would reach out, you know, I would be happy to explain my political beliefs or anything like that. But of course, nobody does.
Yeah, so. And it's so easy. I mean, you know, we found each other, so you know.
Yeah, anybody can find. You know, my DMs are always open on Twitter. Anybody can.
Yeah, so they have no excuse. They just simply did not try. I mean, recently I've been trying to get a hold of a lot of journalists, and I have one person that I called on the phone, and I put it on a video. Basically asked him, well, what makes you call these people far right? In this case, it was Joey. It was Patriot Prayer in San Francisco last Saturday, and she said, well, the things that people said. I was floored. I was said you could just contact these people and ask them. But anyway, so that's how they are.
And then what was the second part of that question?
I forgot by now, so let me go back. Your work, quote, had attracted all, and this is the Intercept who said it, so we can't blame Berkeley side for reprinting it, blah. But through the Intercept, in a passive-aggressive way, they are saying, quote, that you had, quote, attracted almost no attention until Sunday when he was beaten by anti-fascist activists in Berkeley. Now, that's not true, is it?
Oh my God, that's so crazy.
Because you've gotten tens of thousands or maybe over 100,000 views before Sunday, haven't you?
Oh, yeah. So basically, you know, when I initially started doing this, I had a channel a long time ago. I didn't know what to do with it, so I didn't do anything with it. And then back in February, when I filmed the Milo riots, I needed somewhere to put the footage, so I just started throwing it up on the YouTube channel, just uncut footage. I did it with the March riot. And then just before April 15, I decided to kind of create a channel and pay attention. So when I filmed those riots and I put the videos up, then like that evening, then a news broker from Ireland had seen it, contacted me and said, hey, you know, we saw your video. Can we go ahead and broker this out to mainstream media outlets? And they named a bunch. And I said, yeah, that's fine as long as you tag me. So that was Sunday night. By Monday, then I started getting thousands and thousands of views. And by the time a week or two later had passed, I had over 250,000 views and thousands of comments. And in less than a month, I had over, I don't know, close to 400,000 views. So most of those views on the channel and comments were there prior to the mess on Sunday. And since then, I maybe gotten like 15,000 or so views, and it's been pretty tame because I haven't really been doing anything on it.
Yeah.
Or very little.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay, so then, yeah, and I think they could have looked into that and saw when most of your traffic was, or if not, then they could have asked you, but they didn't.
Or they could go on Social Blade and put in my name, look at all this stuff there, and real time. Yeah, they could find out very easy if they even cared to report truth.
Right, and they don't. It's just obviously don't. Let's see here. Quote, he's just one example of myriad individuals who have come to Berkeley to make a name for themselves to fight what you call, quote, the efforts of the left to destroy free speech, capitalism, and the American way of life, unquote. Did you actually say that?
I mean, I might have. I mean, that's what's happening. It's like free speech is being trampled on from every angle, every level. I mean, there's a huge battle, on the universities, campuses and universities, where the left is trying to do everything to control and to inhibit free speach. And so that's true. I don't remember that quote. Maybe I said some.
But it's not a misrepresentation or anything like that. Is that fair to say?
No, I don't think so, no.
Yeah. Okay, so then continuing on, let's see if there's anything else in here. Limited, still has a limited subscriber base on YouTube. Well, that may be true, but so what? Is that going to win you some argument there, Berkeley side or Intercept? I don't think so. If anything, it just shows what YouTube has been doing lately. I'm not even sure how much of this you're aware of, Keith, but YouTube has been, I guess you could say, shadow banning, soft banning, half banning people. I mean, I don't know about you, but I get a third of my videos get demonetized. Some of them get restricted, age restricted. I have to fight with YouTube all the freaking time, but it's not just me. I mean, YouTuber Sargon of Akkad got every single video demonetized instantly, just like that. And it seems to all be a far left bias, although I think ultimately YouTube just wants to become commercial TV online. And that's their ultimate goal. But I do think there are people who are ideologically bent in a very far left way there. And so, if anything, your low number of subscribers just shows that they're trying to stop this shit, because they are. They really are. They unsubscribe people all the time, and it's horrible.
Yeah, I'm familiar with what they're doing, and they manipulate the algorithms. Most of my views come from either recommended or searches. Those kind of dropped off the face of the earth. Like, I don't know if it was 3 weeks ago or whenever it was, where they kind of did in one fell swoop, I'm sure that's when they got Sargon. Probably. But they demonetized every single one of my videos that had any kind of amount of views. Even Where Change Luke Radowski, who's kind of, I'm not sure if he would call himself an anarchist, maybe, probably, or close to that, I guess. But they even got like 680 of his most money-making videos.
Wow.
It's just crazy. I think that if they were going to delete everybody's videos, then there would be such an uproar that would be a problem. So they use all these other ways to prevent us from creating and make it where we can't make any money, we can't do it, and that's just one of the ways. And they'll eventually get to where we can't be searched.
Yeah,
we're there, but then eventually it'll get to where you'll try to search our videos or search our names, and then won't come up in searches anymore either. And that actually came out months ago when a intoxicated employee from YouTube talked to a commentary YouTuber and spilled the guts about all of that. I don't know if you saw that whole thing. And so we've known it's been for 3 or 4 months. I don't think anybody figured it would come so soon.
Well, I didn't know about that one specifically. I got to say, I've been very much unplugged from news that I normally plug myself in, because I've been so crazy with making the videos since this weekend that I haven't had time to watch a single video by anybody other than yourself to prepare for this interview. And a little bit of Crowman, because I'm trying to get him on here too. But what you're just saying... Go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead.
What we've been just saying just underscores the fact, everybody at home, it's crucial, and I've been saying this in almost every video, well, half my videos for months now, crucial that everybody start thinking about getting off of YouTube, or at least adding something else onto YouTube, because content creators like ourselves are becoming harder and harder to find, and at any point we may wake up and find our channel's gone, and you might find your favorite YouTuber's gone. So it's absolutely crucial that you get a minds.com account and or vidme.account, but a lot of people don't seem to use that one, and this is the one I think is really going to replace YouTube, BitChute. That's BITCHUTE. That seems to be the one that's going to replace, if not minds.com. Both of these, BitChute and minds.com, are committed to no censorship. Minds.com is kind of like using Twitter or Facebook and YouTube at the same time, so you have a profile, you could have friends and all that kind of thing. Same thing with BitChute to a lesser extent, but it's crucial, very important that everybody switch over and find your favorite YouTubers, including Keith and myself. So that's very important to say. Now,
interesting you bring that up, because a friend of mine just got a permaban from YouTube. They wiped out his channel.
Wow.
Claimed he was bullying people, and this is someone who for months and months and months has been working constantly to try to de-escalate the violence, try to bring the two sides together to talk, and he's like the least confrontational person in the whole movement I've ever known, and he gets a permanent ban today. So, and he's putting things on BitChute, he's checking out Minds, or he's checking out VidMe, those other platforms. I'm not sure what's the best. I don't know. I haven't checked them out.
Yeah, I really don't know myself, but I've been on Minds.com for a while. I just signed up for BitChute a couple of days ago. I've been trying to upload stuff to Minds.com. However, Minds.com has a certain size limit, so if your videos are more than, say, 10 minutes long in high definition, they don't really upload all the way, but hopefully they'll fix that. BitChute is better with that, but it's also newer. And I think both of these have, well, I don't want to get into too much details to bore the audience, because they don't need to know the back end of content creators, why it's good for us, but it's also good for you people to use that. I mean, seriously, are you not sick and tired of getting banned on Facebook for criticizing the far left and all that kind of stuff? We all have done it, so let's switch over to Minds.com and BitChute. Okay, despite the widely viewed video of his beating and Letson's intervention, Keith hasn't won much support. A fundraiser he launched Tuesday to help replace his equipment and pay for things like medical and legal expenses has raised just $1,550 of his $20,000 goal. Anything to say about that? I mean, it seems like they're kind of saying, ha ha, nobody's going to pay his hospital bills, ha ha. It seems like it. It's with the tone I get from it.
I don't know. I mean, I didn't have anything to do with the creation of it. I think people are kind of tapped out from donating to Houston, which, people should still keep donating to Houston. I mean, they're in a much worse, more horrible situation.
Yeah.
So I think that's the case, although people got together and got me a new video camera and stuff. So good. I'm back in business, nicer setup than I had before. So I got no complaints.
Great. Hold on one second if you could. How about we go over the It's Going Down article? I know we've already done this over the phone, but my camera failed on me for that whole section. It's Going Down. Keith KPikkelfield's Deep History of Alt-Right Trolling and Provocation by anonymous contributor, August 29th, 2017. Okay, we have that first tweet, which you did say, correct me if I'm wrong, you did tweet that. I don't see a problem with it, but do you want to weigh in on that first tweet where it says, why don't you pussies come out to Berkeley, and we'll talk about that?
Yeah, who hasn't done their share of shit talking? After watching, and hearing about friends of mine being targeted, seeing pictures of people being beaten and bloodied, and, it makes you angry. If you care about our cause, if you care about the people who are on the front lines trying to do something, then you can't not get angry. And so, I shoot my mouth off sometimes, or write my mouth off, whatever you want to call it, on Twitter. And but
now it's funny because I think go ahead.
Oh, I'd say trying to find a video where I've been trying to provoke a fight and get people to fight, and just doesn't happen.
Now, I think when you and I were just discussing that, I think in the back of our minds, we were thinking, well, what would an SJW far left person or somebody from the left-wing media think about this tweet, right? And so that's why we're kind of like, oh, wait, we don't really mean that, and blah, 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 blah. However, let's pretend we are in now a court of law with a jury of our peers who are reasonable people, and they saw that tweet. I think most people would go, oh, whatever. You know, he's just trying to show that he's not afraid. That's all. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a reasonable thing to say. I mean, of course, they're going to say, no, see, that proves that he's a Nazi. But so, okay, let's move on.
Yeah.
You know, we don't want to sugarcoat anything. You did tweet that, but so what? People do have a right to be like, well, screw you, I'm not afraid. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, I would say it's unhealthy. You did the right thing, I think. Anyway, you know, just for the audience sake, I'm not going to go over every point where they call these rallies far right and blah, blah, blah. I've done this in many of my videos just showing that they're not, so we're just going to stick with the things that reference Keith specifically that we need to cover. I'm going to show my audience the part where it says, quote, in the wake of the media coverage, especially from the center and liberal press, the right finds extreme justification for its demonetization of anarchists, anti-fascists, and autonomous social movements. So right now, I just want to thank everybody out there who's responded to the various videos by myself and other YouTubers about how to go to Patreon and other services to get them to defund It's Going Down.
It's going, shutting down. You got Antifa's It's Going Down Patreon shut down.
And report the posts that they do in fact make that talk about sabotaging train cars and attacking people like Keith. So, hey, you know, the fact that they're complaining actually makes me very happy. How does it feel, assholes? Ha ha ha.
Yeah.
You scumbag.
That's a great thing. It's about time.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir. Okay, so let's see here. They write, as journalists from Mother Jones and Reveal have pointed out, the physical altercations were small in number, as if that excuses anything, and often were the result of far-right individuals who both attacking large crowds with pepper spray and provoking them. Now, did you see anybody? Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm floored. It's like, you know, I was right there in the middle of the black bloc, within a foot or two of the people that were getting attacked. You know, whether it would be Johnny and Irma, or I don't even remember all the people that were, you know, getting evicted from the park. This is like before the black bloc showed up.
Right.
This is when the first kind of group were allowed into the park, and they were not provoking. They weren't. None of them had pepper spray. I mean, the police made sure. I even saw the police searching people, patting down people. So nobody. But
to be clear, they did that. I'm sorry, but to be clear, they searched and patted down people who earlier on, but they didn't do so when Antifa came in force, right? They didn't even, you know, they didn't do anything.
Oh, right.
So once again,
right
as they, what's that? You cut out.
Yeah,
for a
they let
second.
him stream right onto the masks on.
Yeah, so it's like, as usual, what they do is they disarm one side, the rally side, the free speech side, or whatever you want, the coalition of people that are ranging from left to right that stand up for civil liberties. They disarm the people entering the park, and then they abandon them and let Antifa march in with whatever weapons they have and attack.
But the other thing that was crazy is, at the entrance, the main entrance on Martin Luther King, there was a bunch of water bottles in a stack about probably 3 or 4 feet square and several feet high. They were confiscating water bottles,
right.
Wouldn't let anybody take it in because water bottles are sometimes used or urine's put in them. But guess what? It's always Antifa that do that every time, but they took our water bottles away, and it was like in the 80s there. Crazy.
I hope that we as a country get to the bottom of this, and it seems like just weird conspiracy stuff. If somebody were to tell me this, I would not believe it, that there's an entire city government that is colluding with the police force, the city council, and the mayor's office to cover up and allow, well, just to violate everybody's civil liberties and allow these, I guess, you know, anarchist, communist, whatever, Marxist, mixture of postmodernist monsters to just take over. It's amazing, and it's only when They started getting investigated by the federal government. Did they once, as far as I know, at one rally actually protect and serve? And that was, I believe, in maybe May or something like that. And then after that, they were just, and we'll go back to how we did it in April, which they did.
Yeah, April 27th, the police did their job because they were so shamed after April 15th that they did, and there was no violence. But every single time, 4 out of the 5 times, I believe it is, the police stood down. Sunday, the most recent, and guess what? Patriots wind up in the hospital. Not Antifa. Patriots wind up in the hospital when police don't do their job.
And for some reason, they don't think that this is not going to blow up in their face, but it is. It's already happening. The media is like, they're now saying, well, we can't just keep covering this up. We're going to have to report what actually happened a little bit. It depends on the news source, but they're starting to do it. And I don't know what makes that city think that they're going to get away with this. This is going to be huge. I mean, it's going to be it's going to be very huge in the future. All right, so moving on. Quote, one individual stands out in the handful of physical fights, however, Keith, who was surrounded by anti-fascists and kicked and punched, leading Reveal journalist Al Letson to intervene on his behalf, allowing him to exit the area. Now, notice they didn't talk about the weapons that they used on you. Oh, he was just kicked and punched. Right.
Yeah.
Isn't that just interesting?
That was crazy. Yeah, I mean, the first strike smashed my camera and monopod out of my hand, and then I thought I could just pick it up and get out of there. Then I think I got hit 3 or 4 times in the head by sticks or poles before I went down. But there's a ton of pictures of that, especially that one guy swinging, like making 2-handed swings with like a metal pole and hitting me with those big signs. Yeah, it's crazy. They were kicking and stomping, but to say that just that was just nuts.
And I don't know who exactly it is. It's hard for me to discern sometimes when somebody put a video up on their YouTube channel if they filmed it or if they're using somebody else's video, but I don't want to give credit to the wrong person, but somebody deserves credit. Somebody has a camera angle where while that's happening to you, they run up, and they must have a camera on their helmet or something, but they run up to the guy that was hitting you with that metal pole and with their arm straight out, and that stopped the guy with the pole from hitting you another time, and it made him just kind of turn around and walk away. I don't know if that was very fake news that did that.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, there is a video. I'll show you when I can. I'll send you a link to it. But yeah, there is that angle. Somebody did run out with the camera on them, and their hands go straight out in front of them as if to just block that person who's hitting you with that pole, and that person with the pole looks straight into the person's face, and then just kind of turns around because they realize that they're not going to get away with hitting you again. But he intended to hit you even more. Definitely. You can see it.
Wow, I never saw that. I was told that he, someone slow-moed and they said that he bent the pole over me, hitting me. But
wow.
Yeah, I never saw that video.
Wow. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, who knows if he maybe would have hit Al Letson too. With that guy was just, he was ready for blood. But yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, Al said he was terrified. He thought he was going to die.
If anybody knows who it is that took that footage where they ran up with their hands out to stop that guy, please let us know. That would be great. And if that is you, very fake news, you're amazing if that was you. Quote, media pundits on the right and on social media have attempted to paint Keith as innocently someone out to pick up groceries and who was in turn randomly attacked by a mob. Now, I haven't seen anybody claim that you were out picking up groceries. Have you?
I read the same thing you just read, but number one, there's no grocery stores around there. Number two, if you at the time of day when I was there, all that stuff had been going on for a while. So who would walk through the middle of that to pick up groceries, even if there was a grocery store there? I mean, it's ludicrous.
Yeah, but I mean, even still, even if it's a ludicrous story, just to be clear, you've never claimed that, right? I mean, you've never claimed.
Oh no, I've always said what it was. I was there to film and why I was targeted.
Yeah, so it's like they're putting this out there as if to say, see, he's a liar about this. Don't believe him about anything else, and never listen to those people. Make sure you never listen to those people. That's what they're doing. They're trying to poison the well. So moving on from there. Okay, groceries. It was a term randomly attacked by a mob. In reality, and it's, by the way, it's funny how they mentioned that somebody else says that you were randomly attacked by a mob when they damn well know sure it was a coordinated attack by multiple spotters and people who were then deployed to attack you. very coordinated paramilitary type thing to do. But, quote, in reality, however, Keith, for weeks leading up to the event, encouraged confrontation and violence with counter-protesters and claimed that, like on April 15th, anti-fascists were going to be attacked by members of the alt-right and far-right individuals. Would you like to respond? Oh, and then they give you this one tweet, which is supposed to prove what they just said, which says, from you, apparently, tell me if this is from you, tweet, quote, I just don't think they're up for another ass-kicking, unquote. Now, first of all, is it fair to say that you tweeted that?
Oh, yeah, of course I did.
Now, second of all,
I'm not going to deny it.
If that is what they are using as evidence for what they just claimed, that's just falls short. So let me just ask you, is there any evidence out there, or did you, in fact, let's see here, say that they were going to be attacked by members of the far right and encourage confrontation with them and etc.?
Number one, I wouldn't encourage the far right to be there, and I don't know why they think I would have, well, I know why they think that, but I would have never said, oh yeah, you're going to get attacked by members of the far right. I don't talk to anybody of the far right. It's interesting that they're trying to paint me as that, or paint me as before like a white nationalist or alt-right, when back in June, I got in this huge, they should have brought these tweets up where I was basically having a Twitter fight against like all these white nationalists and like people from Identity Europa and people from the farther right that were going after me because I'm not a white nationalist, and they don't go through all those tweets. There was about a 4-day period where I was just getting hammered with messages and tweets. It was just crazy.
No, it's interesting.
And,
I got that. Okay. Oh, okay.
But then I forgot what you were asking.
I'll get back to that. I just have to say that I think that happens to a lot of people, although it was very mild with Tabitha and I once we started putting out videos about confronting Antifa and about how they were using American front stickers to put on our front door. That's a whole other story. Then we started getting contacted by media accounts who were claiming to be American Front, or it was American Front. But yeah, these people, and actually in my comments section too, when they find out that you are maligned by Antifa, but you still don't go over to their side, these far-right people get mad. It's like, well, fuck you, I don't care. Fuck you and Antifa. Let's see here. Now, moving on with the article again, then goes on, what went down? On August 27th in Berkeley, Keith, a.k.a. KPikkelfield, a member of the far-right militia, the Oath Keepers, and involved in alt-right circles. Now, okay, we already went over the fact that these are not far-right groups, and I had a thought earlier on. I'd like to mention this now. When they do this sort of stuff, I just realized by the way that you and I were talking earlier about Oath Keepers and Gavin McInnes and etc., they play a game very much like what I call turtles all the way down. There's a story where an anthropologist was talking to a woman who lived maybe in some tribal society or whatever, and she was explaining how she believed and her people believe that the earth is flat and held up by a turtle. So he asks her, what holds that up? And she says, look, I know where you're going. It's turtles, turtles, turtles all the way down. So in other words, she proves something that you can't really prove by saying, well, that's supported by this other thing, and that's supported by this other thing, and that's supported by this other thing. So what I see these people play a very vicious game of, so-and-so is a far-right person. Why? Because they're friends with so-and-so. So, well, so-and-so is a far-right person. So, can you prove that? Because they're not. Well, yes, I can. They're friends with so-and-so who is far-right. How do you know they are far-right? Well, because they're friends with so-and-so. And it keeps going and going and going. So we can start with you. Yeah. And then it's like, no, you're far-right because you know so-and-so. And so-and-so is far-right because he knows so-and-so. And so-and-so. And then sometimes it just comes down to the following bottom fact. For example, I noticed on your Twitter, you follow people all over the political spectrum. So if somebody wanted to, they could then get to the bottom of, well, so-and-so is a Nazi because he knows so-and-so and he knows so-and-so, and they are friends with Keith on Twitter, and Keith is friends with this group, that group, and the other group, and this person, the other person, the other person, cherry picking, making sure that, it sounds like your friends list is just one-sided, which it is not, and that would be their proof that you are a Nazi, and therefore anybody who likes you is a Nazi, and etc. So that happens a lot, and I'll call that the turtles all the way down syndrome, because it's I can't tell you how many times in social media somebody says, "Hey, that person you're talking to is a far right person," and then when I ask them how do they know, then it becomes this never-ending series of so and so knows so and so. It's a chain. It's like, as Philo of Timon said back in ancient Greece, all their arguments are either an endless chain hanging from nothing or circular. But anyway, I'm sorry if to go off on a philosophical dissertation. Let's move on then.
It's okay. I mean,
go ahead.
Yeah, I follow. I probably follow Richard Spencer. I think but I'm not sure. But yeah, I follow a lot of. I don't follow a lot. I follow maybe less than 500 people. But I follow a lot of people. A number of them are unsavory. I follow a lot of Antifa, though now I've blocked them all, so I don't anymore. But it kind of goes back to the old, I think it's Sun Tzu, or maybe it's Miyamoto Musashi, one of those guys. Anyways, where know your enemy. And it's just not very smart to not know who is on the other side, whether it's far right or far left. If you are going to be putting yourself in the front line and in the line of fire, you should know who might want to be after you.
Sure, definitely. Yeah, and also, as we said in part 2, I believe, of this interview, or our previous interview, if you don't know what somebody's views are, how can you be sure you disagree with them? So as I noted, you actually can say that you disagree with somebody like Richard Spencer because you actually know what you're disagreeing with, and you qualified that a little bit last time, showing that you actually are familiar enough to disagree. Whereas these other people, they intentionally don't listen to Richard Spencer, but they know he's a Nazi and they disagree with him. Well, do they really disagree with him? Because aren't they disagreeing with the straw man version if they don't know what he actually says? I mean, however accurately that straw man may be, still a straw man. Let's see, we're almost at the end of this article here. Quote, on August 27th in Berkeley, Keith, a.k.a. KPikkelfield, a member of the far-right militia, the Oath Keepers involved in alt-right circles, was spotted and sent packing from the failed, quote, No Marxism in America, unquote, rally, which was overwhelmingly defeated and shut down by a massive showing from anti-fascists and anti-racists, which they are neither. Keith has since gone on social media claiming that he was attacked as a random bystander in the street while merely carrying groceries. They then directly say that you directly claimed that you are a random bystander, you're carrying groceries. It's interesting because you didn't claim that. Nor do I the only person
show me where.
Yeah, just silly. And even if you did claim that, so what? It doesn't excuse any of their actions. It's like they're trying to say, well, he lied about what happened, so it's okay that we did that. Bullshit. Anyway, moving on.
Crazy.
Yeah, he had publicly expressed his intention to participate in the rally on social media. Okay, so what? He has a lengthy documented history of affiliation and participation with fascist politics, and over several months has worked to dox and identify anti-fascists for targeted harassment, repression, and possible violence. Okay, so 2 points there. Go ahead. So
okay, prove it then.
Right. That's what it comes down to.
Doxing people.
Okay, and then their claim that you've been working to dox them. Now, we covered this in the other interview, so maybe we'll just keep this brief. What kind of an idiot thinks that if you point a camera in public at people doing things in public and committing crimes, by the way, while they cover their faces half the time, is doxing? What kind of an idiot thinks that? I mean, are they really as stupid as... Do they really believe this shit? Or are they insulting their audience, thinking that their audience is stupid enough to believe this shit? In fact, some of them are. But any comment on that?
I don't know. I don't know if they believe that. I think it's just a way of just trying to stir up hate, and hate against not just me, but against everybody else. And that is not, far left or whatever. So, yeah, I don't think it really matters if they believe themselves or not. But, yeah, and, even, okay, say that I was doxing them. Well, if you're going to be out committing crimes, injuring people, smashing stuff, you kind of deserve to be doxed.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I've always said this. I'm against doxing unless it's to prevent innocent people from being hurt. That's where I'll dox, even though I have not engaged in doxing yet. Yeah. But I would if it was to save somebody's life or to prevent them from being beat down. I mean, if they don't like it, too fucking bad. You know, you shouldn't be doing bad things. It's your fault, you know? Don't blame me for what you do wrong, people.
So there's going to be an AMA on Reddit, which is Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And then Wednesday is the Discord one at 9 at the same time. So, yeah, Wednesday is the Discord at 9 p.m. Eastern.
I see.
Thursday is the Reddit AMA at 9 p.m. Eastern. Yeah.
And that would be, hold on one second here. That would be Wednesday the 6th and Thursday the 7th. All right. Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much for doing the interview. You know, thank you. I know you're a busy man. I know you're still in pain and everything like that. And everybody out there, please consider, you know, scroll down, see the links. You could see his channel, you could see his Twitter, and you can actually donate to his Patreon to keep his channel going. And or you can donate to the campaign that somebody else started to help him pay his hospital bills, which are huge. Well, thanks again for watching, people. Love, life, light, liberty, and leaping laughter. See you next time. Bye. Bye, Keith. So that's the conclusion of that part of that interview. There will be more. So make sure you are subscribed and make sure you do have that little bell icon clicked. Make sure YouTube hasn't undone that for you, because they do that. Make sure you consider donating to Keith's Patreon and or the campaign to replace his camera and, well, his huge hospital bills. There's also a link for his Twitter. If he starts a Minds.com and or BitChute or anything else, I'll put links for that in the description below. And be sure you watch the next part of this interview. Love, life, light, liberty, and leaping laughter.